Held items have been a fantastic addition to the Pokemon formula ever since the Generation 2 games, adding yet another layer of strategic options for the player to pursue. The sheer number of items to collect in the Sinnoh region is staggering, and some can be very difficult to stumble upon without a guide. In this video, I'm going to review what I believe are the best held items available in Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum playthroughs, as well as how to get them. I primarily do Nuzlocking content on this channel, so every item that I go over today can be obtained before the post-game. Otherwise, the entire list would be compiled of Battle Tower items, and that's not as interesting. So without further ado, let's get started. Let's lead off this list with a copy of one of the best. One of the absolute classics in the franchise, Leftovers will restore 1/16 of your Pokemon's maximum HP at the end of every turn. Anything that can heal your Pokemon in battle is a valuable asset, especially when it's literally for free and you don't have to spend a single turn to activate that extra health. However, in most games, Leftovers is often obtained towards the very end of the playthrough, or in the post-game, so historically it hasn't been very accessible. And unfortunately, that's pretty much the case with these games as well, with the only easily obtainable one being locked behind the national decks. Okay, technically you could obtain it from Wild Munchlax, which, good luck with that one, or from your level 81 Pachirisu, again, have fun with that. Luckily, we do have an alternative in Black Sludge. Is it as good as Leftovers? Obviously not, but I cannot emphasize enough how powerful free healing is in the midst of battle. Black Sludge will be great on any poison type, and the bulkier, the better. I love pairing this with Pokemon that have access to additional self-healing, various status moves, and of course utilizing Protect to squeeze out some extra health every turn. And the best part is, you can obtain this item as many times as you like. Black Sludge can be found on Wild Croagunk within the Great Marsh in Diamond and Pearl, and it can also be found on the Croagunk that reside on Route 212 in Platinum. In both cases, there is only a 5% chance that they will be holding one, so it's definitely much easier to obtain one in Platinum, as you can utilize the move Thief or Covet on Route 212. In Diamond and Pearl, it's a little more tedious since you'll have to catch a bunch of them first. In either case, picking up a Leftovers type item for a poison type halfway through the game is pretty sweet. Tired of missing your attacks with your Nuzlocke on the line? Me too, but luckily there's a solution. With yet another held item that can be obtained as many times as you like, don't worry, that trend will continue. The Wide Lens is an excellent pickup for utility Pokemon and sweepers alike. 10% is an absolutely massive number when you really think about it, and I love the consistency that it brings to some seriously powerful attacks that can sometimes be just too risky depending on the circumstances. I quite enjoy using this item on Pokemon that use moves such as Charge Beam, Rock Slide, and even the Elemental Fangs, as those moves basically become 100% accurate with the Wide Lens equipped. It's great with status moves as well, such as Stun Spore, Sleep Powder, Leech Seed, and so much more. Hell, it even makes moves like Fire Blast and Blizzard far more consistent and fun to use. You can acquire the Wide Lens as many times as you like for a measly 1,000 coins at the Veilstone Game Corner. That's 20,000 Pokédollars, which by that point in the game should not be much of an investment. As a Nuzlocker myself, one of the biggest goals I aim for in any attempt is to remove as much RNG as humanly possible, as one missed attack can potentially cause the run to fall apart. So go ahead and pick up that Wide Lens and put your accuracy frustrations behind you. Ironically for this list, Route 221 is actually far more famous for its unique post-game feature, the POW Park. But what if I told you it is also home to a Battle Tower item that can be obtained an infinite amount of times? Got your attention? Good, because Focus Sashes are definitely worthy of that group of supremely powerful items. Despite being a one-time use held item, cheating death without sacrificing an attacking turn is just as incredible in practice as it seems on paper. There will be situations throughout your playthrough where you have the speed and the damage you need to take out an opponent, but you might not have a clean switch to enable that Pokemon to get the job done. There are plenty of powerful but very frail Pokemon that run into this problem a lot. If you're playing on set mode, for example, and you're not leading with your fast and heavy hitter, chances are that Pokemon will be useless for the incoming fight, as you won't have a way to get them in against certain opponents without getting one shot. Well, this piece of fabric is here to help. Need some help switching into Candace's Frostlass? Onyx? How about Cyrus's Weavile? You have a speedy Ice Beam user for Cynthia's Garchomp, but you can't figure out how to get it in safely? Give it a Focus Sash, and you won't have to worry about it anymore. Back to Route 221, let's go over how to get these bad boys. Located in a house on the northernmost end of the route, the old man here will provide a specific set of reoccurring items if you can show him a Pokemon at a specific level. The level he'll ask for varies wildly and can be anywhere between 1 and 100. But by changing the date on your device, you can actually change what this level is every time you set your game to a new day. So it might take a few tries to show him a Pokemon whose level meets his requirements, but it's totally worth it. The first reward he gives out for completing this task is a black belt. The second time you do it, he'll give you an expert belt. And then finally, you will receive a focus sash for completing the old man's request for a third time. This cycle of items will then repeat forever, allowing you to pick up as many focus sashes as you want as long as you're willing to put the work in. You know, if I'm being completely honest, I never thought I would ever need an item like this. As a player myself who really enjoys a more defensive playstyle, Reflect and Light Screen are incredibly useful, essentially reducing the incoming damage by 50% from either the physical or the special side. So why at first glance would I not think much of Light Clay? Well, 5 turns just sounds like a lot. It seems plenty, especially considering that most of the gym leaders in Sinnoh only have 3 or 4 Pokemon. But in my experiences so far, especially when you get into the Pokemon League, many of those battles can actually last much longer, even past the additional 3 turns that Light Clay provides. It just gives you that extra buffer you need. It makes setup strategies easier to pull off, and just overall keeps your party members safer, especially if any mistakes are made along the way. To obtain the Light Clay, you have a couple of options, including a repeatable method. The earliest you can get one is within the underground through the digging minigame. This is a pretty laborious process though, as the drop chance for an item like this is going to be pretty low. You also won't be able to utilize it until you actually get either Reflect or Light Screen anyway, which are both found in the Veilstone department store. Your other option is much more forgiving, but you'll have to wait until you have access to the section of Mount Coronet that you travel through much later in the story. It can be found on this little island here as you navigate through the cave for a bit. While there may be better held items on this list, I still think Light Clay deserves a spot among them, providing a bigger security blanket for your team as you navigate through some of the tougher challenges in your playthrough. Next up, I got a couple of grouped items to go through, starting with all of the type boosting items, of which there are a crap ton in these games, by the way. In addition to the usual suspects we've seen in the past, Game Freak decided to add plates for each typing into the Generation 4 games, essentially doubling the amount of type boosting items in existence. But that's not the only thing that's new with regards to these item types. For anyone that hasn't seen my best held items video for Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, go check that out later, by the way. The type boosting items in those games did not make the list, and that's because they all got a much needed boost in the generation that followed, going from a 10% increase in damage of a specific type to 20% in Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. Trust me, that is a significant damage boost, especially with the inclusion of the physical special split alongside these upgrades. 10% was very often not enough to make any real difference, but 20%? 20% is enough to rethink your entire strategy against the various boss fights in Sinnoh. And again, with the plates being added into these games as well, means that these items are going to be more accessible than ever before. Now, I don't have enough time in this video to show you every single location of each item because there are just too many of them, but this should give you a pretty good idea of where to look. These items are true classics, and they have Generation 4 to thank for that. Now, some of you may very well be thinking, what the hell are these? And I've got to admit, up until recently, I was right there with you. I don't have much to comment on regarding their usefulness. I mean, reducing an incoming super effective attack by 50% is just great in a variety of different situations. Ever since Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal, berries have been commonplace in all Pokemon games since. Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald took that formula and introduced so many new ones and made berries extremely accessible overall and very easy to multiply by the dozens. Those games really set the bar high when it came to the franchise's most common held item. But when Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum came around, it seemed like Game Freak held back a little bit in the berry department. Berries became far less common in the overworld, and the patches that did exist generally only provided a single berry at a time. Regrowing berries is more difficult now as well, reducing the overall value of each berry as a result, especially with all the other fantastic health items that were created in these games. So it was no surprise to me that I had never stumbled upon these 18 brand new berries that were added in Gen 4, but that's not the only reason why they were so easy to gloss over. These berries cannot be found anywhere in the Sinnoh region by conventional means. They can only be obtained from specific wild Pokemon that each have a 5% chance of holding one of these berries. At least once you do have one, you could at least grow them normally in a berry patch, but still. I went through several hundred hours of playtime in these games before I even stumbled upon a single one. Feel free to pause the video to get a look at where each berry comes from. You'll need to either catch these Pokemon, which I don't recommend, or use a move like Thief or Covet to have a chance of stealing them. These berries are very rare and possibly overlooked as a result, but they should not be forgotten about. Just one of them could save you a loss that you would have otherwise been forced to endure. Is there even a point to having a best held items list without mentioning the amulet coin? Well, I guess it depends on what game it is, I guess. But Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum most certainly get great use out of this thing. If you guys think Mauville's Game Corner in Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald is loaded, take a second look at what you can get in Veilstone. It's basically the same list, but with some sweet extras, such as U-Turn and Wide Lens, which we have already discussed in this video. However, the biggest difference between the two game corners, though, is you'll have to dish out a lot more dough for these coveted TMs in Veilstone than you had to in Mauville. 10,000 coins a pop to be precise, which would come out to 200,000 Poké Dollars each. Luckily, money is a bit easier to obtain in Sinnoh than it was in Hoenn, but the amulet coin can play a huge role in that. Combined with the newly added Versus Seeker, the amulet coin is able to produce tens of thousands of Poké Dollars faster than ever before. You can also obtain the amulet coin faster than ever before, as you can grab yours in Amity Square just north of Hearthome City. Not bad at all, and by the time you reach Veilstone for the first time, you just may have enough to purchase that first big game changer. Last but most definitely not least, we have the stupidly overpowered choice specs. We've had a couple of items on this list already that are normally exclusive to the Battle Tower, but this takes it to a whole nother level. There's really nothing to go over regarding its effect. I mean, locking yourself into a single move to deal 50% more damage is utterly nuts, and will win you battles that you may not have deserved to win. Certainly not a reward that fits within the middle of a playthrough, at least in my opinion, but it's there, and you should get it. I'm almost a little mad that it exists halfway through the game. Almost. In order to pick this up, you'll need to have access to Celestic Town, which won't be until after gym number 5, in Platinum at least. I'm not sure if it's possible to get there before Fantina or not in Diamond and Pearl. Let me know in the comments. But by talking to this man inside the town's general store, you can receive up to 3 different held items depending on what time of day it is. During the middle of the day, you can get a pair of black glasses, which is one of the many type boosting items we mentioned earlier. At night, he'll give you some wise glasses. Not as useful, but hey, we'll take it. And finally, if you speak with him in the morning, between the hours of 4 AM and 10 AM specifically, he will grant you those wonderful choice specs. If a 20% boost is enough to give you some new ideas, 50% simply changes everything. And with that, this video is now over. If you like this list, you should check out the other ones I've done for the channel as well. Let me know what your favorite held items are from Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. And let me know if you think I missed anything. As always, please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed it. That's it for me. I'll see you next time.